Hey, how's it going? This is just a personal video blog that is going over a particular project I've been working on just for fun and some of the issues that I've faced and where it's at now. I had started this a while back and I just got stuck several times along the way. What I'm trying to do is to use this kind of prototyping development board here to create a standalone Midi synthesizer. Um, the idea being that I've got one of these things here. It's just a fairly cheap little USB MIDI controller. It's not a synthesizer itself, so there's no audio outputs or anything on it. It's just a USB MIDI device. And I want to take this, interface it to this guy, and then ideally output some sound here. And I had done it before on MSP430, Arduino, and also I guess it was a Spartan FPGA, as far as FPGA only implementation. And for those, I had used this, which is a standalone USB host module. And it's the easiest way to get access to MIDI because, when you look up how do you do you see a lot of the old school, like DIN connector MIDI interfaces for Arduino, but the problem with those are that, like, this doesn't have that as an interface, and the only thing nowadays that you can purchase with that included would be fairly high-end professional software, in which case it's there just for legacy support. So, like, to get one of those with the DIN output on it, uh, it would be like $300, $400 range. So going the USB route is definitely the way to go, and this makes it even easier still because you don't have to have those DIN connectors. It's just got and you just plug it in there and provide it with 5 volts power, and then this TX out will have your MIDI input. But the issue that I ran into at this time was with this baud rate, and it's always been an awkward baud rate to support. But in all my other previous implementations, I was like at the bare metal level, so I could just I could just set up the peripheral to so that it would work. But on Petalinux, I've just had all sorts of problems, and so um, but I did get it to work eventually, although not the way I wanted to. I wanted to have that um, connected to I wanted to have that connected to here and go into the PS and then just use the PS UART transceiver. And it just wasn't going to work with the default drivers. It's just not a setting for that baud rate. And so I was like, well, there is a USB host port right there. So it's got a host capability. So I was like, well, let me just try that. I'd never tried it. So in the beginning, just for the default image that I had, it would never power up the board. Nothing would happen. And so I kind of gave up on that after a while. Now I have gotten that to work since then, but between then and between the ultimate solution, which was just to use that, and this other method, I did get it to work another way, which was to just implement my own UART transceiver in the fabric. So it would be these two guys. So that gets you your 16x oversampled uh, tick, and then This is just connected to the TX pin of that module I just showed. So this would go out to that module, the digital input, and then you provide the right frequency right here, and that's just so you know when you got a byte ready, and the byte that comes out, and then that feeds to the rest of the system. And so I did get that to work, and it works fine. I really did not want to have to use that because ultimately, for what I'm thinking this is going to work, I need the MIDI to kind of sync into the PS here. Because I want to support, one of the things I was never able to support on the other platforms was polyphonic voices. So basically you could press more than one key at once. Just didn't have enough room, didn't have enough speed, you know, just wasn't practical. But now that I've got this, you know, big giant SoC system, and then, you know, of course I got Fabric now in conjunction with dual-core, you know, ARM CPU and Linux and all this other stuff, it's a lot more practical to do. Because what wound up happening was, you know, you get your bytes as they come through byte by byte, and then they go here to this Packetizer, which all this does is it, you know, whenever it's ready, it'll receive a byte, and then once it gets a valid MIDI packet stored up, it'll trigger that, which goes to your MIDI. This is like the state. This holds the current state of the instruments because packets come and go. And so like you'll have like a one for note on, like you press a key, it'll say this key number is on. Maybe it was pressed this fast or this hard. And when you let off, you get another packet that says note off. So that state is preserved and marshaled in this guy. But again, like it's only monophonic. It can only support one key. You could probably do it in the PL. I'm just not that smart. I'm just not that experienced yet. And so I wanted ultimately this. I want these packets going to the PS, and then from the PS, I want this stuff, if that makes sense. So, because right now, right, I'm having to send it. I'm having to collect it all up here, concatenate it all together, and send it to the PS, and then like get my responses back out. It's just, I didn't want to do it this way, I will say, but now I got the other way working. So the USB method is much better. And in order to get that to work, all I wound up having to do was go into my Petalinux project and then go to the device tree. And so it was in the device tree after all. I mean, it's not obvious. They don't ever make this stuff obvious. So this is what it was. As far as just when I go into Vivado and I click, I want to enable the USB host under the, like when you double click the PS and you configure the peripherals there, this is what it gives you. And if you look very, very closely at the Petalinux project, or the Petalinux BSP that comes with the board, see it's 2017 dot something. It's not the same version, but you can still look at the device tree file. If you look at it, this is what it says. The difference being, I guess it defaults to OTG. And then you have this USB no-op XC. I'm not sure what that means, but I know that, like, you know, it would not provide any power when you plug something into it. So just changing that got it working like normal. And so now when well, number one, the lights on my lights on the MIDI controller turn on whenever it boots, and then you can say LS USB. And there it is. The Akai Mini MPK2. And I had to add like a couple things like sound drivers and different stuff. But once I get the drivers installed that I needed, we can go to dev sound SND, and then here, let's, and I mean, I tried a bunch of them, but it just happens to be this guy right here. So if I say get base, it'll open it up. And so if I strike a key, and it works. You can see you get 3 bytes each time. And I mean, this is the same stream of bytes you'd be parsing through with that module. There's no difference, except that this one doesn't require a module, and it's kind of how I want it to work in the beginning, anyways. And so basically, yeah, you can just open this file and read it in there. So now I can finally have what I need to do multiple voices. But really, it's just the architecture I was looking for to begin with. And so we can make sure it also builds. And this is just kind of a preliminary. It's basically doing the same thing as those other 2 blocks. As far as like here, it processes byte by byte with a little state machine, collects 3 bytes, and then, you know, signals that we got a packet, and then it'll process the packet. And MIDI's pretty easy to parse through. Right now, it's just printing stuff to the console. I haven't gotten quite to the point where it's going to be outputting stuff to the PL yet. So yeah, we'll just run this guy. Actually, so here we are again. If I strike that key again, manual note on. Where's the manual coming from? I must have made a typo in all this. What in the world? Sorry, that was I wasn't gonna be able to deal with that. So press the key. Oh, oh, there we go. Press it, it goes note on. So this is key number 48, and the second value is how fast I press the key. So like, so all the releases, whenever you go to note off, they're always 0 for the velocity. If I press it down really slow, yeah, it's like 1. If I really like stab it, yeah, it goes to max value, which is 7 bits. And you get all sorts of pressures in between. And you see it says the note list size. So like if I press it, the note list size is 1 because there's 1 key is being pressed, so it's generating sound. If I let off, it goes to 0. But if I press that one and then another one, then another one, now we should have 3 notes playing. And it's pretty good. You can just slam all the notes down. And then, okay, yeah, and it always goes back to 0. But this is a lot more stable than the UART method, because you could every now and again lose a packet. Um, and this is pretty good though. So that's just keys, but then it's also got it's got some knobs on it. So it's got these knobs which are registered as what's called control change, and it could be a knob or like a slider or something, and so it's got those knobs for control change. It's got these drum pads which are kind of multifunction. They can be normal notes, velocity sensitive, and then they could be control change, uh, values, or even program change values. But I mean, I'll never use program change, so you could use them to like turn on something and then turn off something. Or you could just use it as a drum pad and it would come through like a normal note. And then you got the pitch bend wheel. Um, so really the three main ones that I'd work with would be note commands on off, and then your control change, and then maybe a pitch bend. But yeah, if I just turn one of these knobs over here, knob 1, it starts at 0, turn it up, all the way up, all the way down. And then the second knob, they're just in order, left to right, top to bottom there. So it's pretty easy to do right there. And then the pitch bend is a little wacky because it's actually a 14-bit value. And this makes me really mad about this joystick. If you go left and right, it's pitch bend. But if you go up and down, it goes to CC channel 1, which is knob 1. So if you just barely accidentally go up or down too much, you'll reset that knob's position, and then it won't go back to the physical position of the knob until you adjust the knob again. See? So I hate that. So basically, I just can't use knob 1 if I want to use the pitch bend. But I mean, it's $100 uh, beginner, the cheapest keyboard you can get. It's not the cheapest, but it's a good one as far as like a low investment for beginners. And then, oh, was there any other things I could do? I could do program change. Yeah, program changes are not really used a whole lot. Just for more complicated systems. But yeah, that's basically kind of where it's at now. I will say one thing. I cannot figure this out for the life of me. I tried all day yesterday. I could not get it. All right, now, right here. So, right now I'm opening up this file as a normal, like, file pointer. I started off with like an F stream, and apparently you're not supposed to do that. So, the issue I'm getting is anytime I try to read from this file, it's blocking me. And there's nothing I can do to get it to unblock me. So I tried it with F stream first, and then I tried it with your basic Unix commands like open and close, read and write. But couldn't get that to work either. I mean, even with using, what's it, O non-block. I tried all the flags. I did everything. It always, even when I tried to just do peek, when I just tried to peek the next character, it would block me. So right now, it's sitting right here. And it won't continue. 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 But you'll see, eventually, when it stops, it will stop. it does stop. Yeah, it stops right here, and like I mean, I don't know, I can't figure out how to, like, how do I check if it's, you know, got any data in it without blocking? I mean, at this point, I've just decided to put it in its own thread because it's not so bad of a thing to have a thread just for the receiving the input stream there. But it's one of those things that frustrated the hell out of me yesterday. I mean, I could not figure it out. I mean, because when I do it like this, I guess there's no end of file. There's no EOF. Like, I don't know. I can't come up with an if statement that will say if there's data available or not without causing it to block, waiting for data. It's like chicken before the egg kind of thing. But anyways, I'll figure that out. I'll do something with it. This is already too long as it is. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it inspired somebody. Have a great day.